and foremost, we got to talk about this Eovaldi signing with
Yeah.
Texas because you said it right before we started recording, and I think Foolish Baseball said it.
Yeah.
Like, what did he say? High variance?
Yeah. Like, I mean, there's a legitimate chance that, I think he screenshotted Fangraphs projections and said there's a lot of variance here, but there's a legitimate chance that this is their best rotation in baseball. And, understanding how far the Rangers were, from being competitive next year, we know how good they're going to be in the future. You and I just talked about their farm system on the call up, and there's the big league pieces are starting to come together there too. They're going to be a good franchise for a long time.
Yeah.
But, as soon as next year is a big question, right? And, at least they have a shot, and it's going to rely on the health of Jacob deGrom. It's going to rely on the health of Eovaldi and a few other guys. But there's a legitimate chance with this rotation that if all goes well, 90th percentile outcome is best rotation in baseball. 100th percentile outcome could be best rotation we've seen in a long time. So, this is a really cool opportunity for the Texas Rangers to try to catch lightning in a bottle this year. And if they don't, okay, cool. You've got several years moving forward now to build top end success at the big league level with the farm system feeding in there. But I love the Eovaldi move because to me, that screamed urgency in the short term. And I love the way that the contract is structured. I assume that by the reflection of your glasses, that is what you're pulling up right now.
No, I was actually pulling up Nathan Eovaldi's pitcher list page. So I was pulling up his pitch data. Should I take my glasses off for transparency's sake?
No, I couldn't actually see. I just saw a little bit of light changing in there, and I was like, he's digging up something.
Got you. Yeah. So I will pull up the Rangers payroll here in a moment, but I do want to talk about what they're going after, because we were having conversations about the Texas Rangers and how it was fun that they were going for it last offseason, where they commit $500 million to Seager and Semien, right? 325 for Seager, 175 for Semien. And then they signed John Gray to like a $56 million deal. And we said, okay, they just got more fun. They just got more watchable after a dog shit 2021. But we still said this is one of the worst starting rotations in all of baseball. So to make the jump from one of the least enjoyable to watch and one of the worst rotations in baseball to one of, if not best, then at least most enjoyable rotations to watch in Major League Baseball in the span of a year, speaks to what they want to do. And it speaks to them having a multi-year plan, right? Because we said, okay, these Seager and Semien moves have to be the tip of the iceberg. And that's a really expensive tip of the iceberg. But now we're seeing the iceberg actually being constructed in the water, right? And that is getting a lot of starting pitching talent and veteran starting pitching talent to allow the Jack Leiters and the Kumar Rockers and the Brock Porters and the other prospects
a little bit more breathing room.
A little bit more breathing room, a little bit less urgency here. And they've got less urgency. They have less on their shoulders. They have less of an obligation to be really good right away, because you've got guys in their mid-30s in deGrom and Eovaldi. Martin Perez, I think, is on the wrong side of 30, but he's coming off of a career year, and he accepted the qualifying offer. Andrew Heaney was never as good as he was with the Dodgers last year. Can he do it again, right? So this is an opportunity to have guys that were so freaking good in 2022, see if they can do it again. And I want to shout out Eovaldi with that, because we know what Heaney did, right? Like that Dodgers devil magic. We'll see if Andrew Heaney can, parlay what he learned in LA to, a nice season.
And I'll tell you, the pitch data on him looks real good. Real good. Like he could be that guy.
Real good, right? And, deGrom is deGrom. Don't need to explain to him. John Gray, when he's on, is an absolute 3, borderline 2, worth a $56 million deal. And then Martin Perez, who knows what you're going to get, but obviously
that's your 5.
Yeah, that's your 5. And he was one of the best pitchers in the American League.
He was a bona fide 2, and pitched like an ace at points last year. I'm not saying he's an ace, but he pitched like one.
Right. I think Eovaldi is the perfect parameter here, because the conversation about Nathan Eovaldi, and I'm sure you remember it when he was a Miami Marlin. I latched on when he was a New York Yankee, and he learned that Tanaka splitter, and he was 100 with a crazy splitter. And it was, okay, this guy is so not durable, but when he's on the mound, he's one of the most fun young pitchers to watch in baseball. And the workhorse idea never really clicked until Chris Sale went down in Boston, and Eovaldi was like, the one in Boston for the last couple of years now, because Chris Sale hasn't put together a full season in a while. And Eovaldi, yes, he's not 100 with like that lights out splitter anymore, but what Nathan Eovaldi is 96 miles an hour with a relatively low spin rate on a four-seam fastball, so it plays well at the bottom of the zone. A splitter that opponents hit 173 against at 88, a curveball that opponents hit under 200 against, and he mixes in a bunch of different pitches too. Slider 13% of the time, cutter 9% of the time. Some fastballs even qualified as a sinker because of how low the spin was, and then he mixed in a changeup every now and again. Like, this guy is a true 5-pitch pitcher that is still 96 to 97 with the fastball, still has a great splitter. I think that Eovaldi perfectly encapsulates what the Rangers could be, and that's if they stay healthy and if all those guys bring their B or B plus game, they could be a really good team.
So real quick, I agree, and I want to pick up off of that point. He's also been traded a lot and has a pretty interesting journey. Do you know how he got to Miami? Like, you know what the trade was?
No. Where was he at before that?
He was drafted by the Dodgers in the 11th round, traded for Hanley Ramirez. You weren't going to get it. There's no way. Traded for Hanley Ramirez, and then the Marlins sent him to New York with Domingo Germán, who was a prospect at the time, and Garrett Jones for David Phelps, Martin Prado, and cash. He's later traded by the Rays to the Red Sox for Jalen Beeks. So this guy's been around the block, but you set the stage well here, right? This is somebody that kind of came up. I watched him come up with the Marlins there. You know, I think he had a cameo before that with the Dodgers, but, you know, watching him really kind of get his feet under him with the Marlins, he didn't have an identity yet. And I don't think he really got that identity till he went over to New York and won 14 games. I think he went 14-3 and started to get a little bit more confident and comfortable in what he was doing. And then we kind of saw him grow from there. He went to Tampa. I think they tweaked some things. And then he goes to Boston and things just really, really clicked for him there. And he became the guy that we see now. But here's the thing is, Eovaldi is the best. Nate Eovaldi is the Eovaldi that we've seen over the last 3 years. Even the banged up Nate Eovaldi last season for 109 games, who threw a shutout last year, by the way, and had 2 complete games. Like, that version, 109 innings, was better than what we've seen from him just about every single year, besides, guess what? The year before that, where he was, statistically speaking, on the surface, you know, it was a 3.75, but a 2.79 FIP. If you go by FWAR, the stats love him there. We know how difficult Fenway Park can be to pitch in at times as well. He was dynamite last year, and then we know what he did in the postseason before that. So this guy's been there, done that. His numbers in the postseason are phenomenal. And the Rangers have their eyes on reaching the playoffs. Maybe it's not next year, but they're trying to do it in the next 3. And that's where it's really interesting on the contract structure that Jeff Passan kind of detailed here. And we're talking about great organizations, and we're going to get into that. And you know, we're probably not going to give the Rangers much time of day because they're not there yet. Yeah. But this is an organization that in 3 years, I think you and I are having this conversation saying this is a well-run organization, and Chris Young has this thing figured out. And I love the way that they structured this deal with Eovaldi. You know, it wasn't just throwing money all around. So he gets bonuses of up to $3 million per year if he reaches 160 innings, which obviously is going to bump that deal up quite a bit because it's what, $16 million per year. Is that what the breakdown is? And then a player option
and a vested option at $20 million in 2025 if he hits 160 innings.
Yes. So the player option, if he throws 300 innings from 2023 to 2024, he'll have a $20 million option for 2025. So a bunch of bonuses, a vesting option that they will be happy for that to vest if he's on the field. Because I think it's proven now, if Eovaldi is on the mound, even with the diminished velocity last year,
he was still
getting outs. So the maximum of this deal is 3 years, $63 million. And for it to get to that point, he will be worth it. So it's either going to be, it wasn't a great deal. You know, we overpaid a guy for a short-term deal, 2 years, $34 million. And I think you can shoulder that in this market. Or if it works out, you got a really good deal on 3 years, 63 for a guy that probably was a number 3 for you during the duration of that contract. So no brainer. I love it. I love the deal. They protect themselves a little bit. They have the upside. And I mean, this rotation has a chance to be really, really good. And I think Eovaldi's going to bounce back in a big way. And again, getting him out of Boston's huge. Fenway Park is difficult to pitch in. And I think Texas is going to be a lot better for him. So I'm excited about this rotation. I think the Rangers, look, they're still not there yet, man. I think we both agree there. But this is a team that is a lot closer than they were last year, and they're just only going to continue to head in the right direction. I don't see them slowing down or stalling out.
Well, and dude, they've got 6 arms right now. Like Odorizzi is a Texas Ranger now. He was traded again this offseason after he,
which is really important because you have to assume that Eovaldi or deGrom or
one of them's going down.
One of them's going to miss some starts,
yeah.
right? Maybe even maintenance wise, maybe they should miss some starts, right?
Yeah.
So, having him there, having that insurance policy with Odorizzi, and then the prospects that are coming up, which again we just talked about on the call up. Owen White not far away. Cole Winn, if he figures it out, not far away. They've got some really good options. Jack Leiter not far
and
away.
Rocker are not that far away. Like they're both AA arms probably.
They're a good year away from being up there. So things are looking really good in Texas. I'm a big believer in Chris Young, and I'm really excited about what he's doing.
And I just want to say, like, every pitching prospect they have right now, except for maybe Tekoa Roby, who we talked about a little bit, every pitching prospect they have now could be in the rotation opening day 2025. And there might be a bit of a logjam there, and that is a good thing. I want to talk about who is not under contract on opening day 2025 on this team right now. There aren't many. Opening day 2025, the only guys that are not going to be there, Martin Perez, Jake Odorizzi, Brad Miller, and Mitch Garver. Everybody else is either pre-arb, in arbitration, or on guaranteed deals. Mitch Garver, the catcher, he's not even your starting catcher. You got Jonah Heim there. Brad Miller is a utility bat at best. And hey, man, if 2 of those 4 guys that we're talking about starting pitching wise with White, Winn, Leiter, and Rocker show up by opening day 2025, you do not feel the departure of Martin Perez and Jake Odorizzi. Because you've got, and Heaney, I guess. Heaney will be off the books on opening day 2025. But you simply don't feel it.
No, not at all. And that's the cool thing is they have time to kind of see how these prospects are going to come up. See how Josh Young performs this year. Is he going to be the guy that you're hoping he's going to be? How quick is Evan Carter coming, who already got a taste of AA and is our number 1 prospect in their system there? They have another year now to make strides at the big league level, be competitive, and be able to assess everything within your system as well. They've got other pieces like Ezekiel Duran, who they may trade, but also could be a part of what they're doing there. I really like him too. And that middle infield, Semien, I think is going to bounce back from what he did last year. He was still fine. I think he's going to bounce back. Seager was good. And how about the breakout that they get from Nathaniel Lowe at first base? I mean, that I think is a huge development for them, because that was a guy that was kind of an average hitting first baseman that through the second half, or even more than that, I would say 2/3 of the season, the final 2/3 of the season, this guy was one of the best hitters in baseball. He was absolutely dominant. So they have and then of course, Jonah Heim's emergence too. They've got a really good core coming together here that seems to only be getting better. I think the big question in this is, what Jacob deGrom are they getting? They obviously paid a lot of money to find out. And that was their prerogative. I think that's fine. You got to roll the dice when you were this far off from competing. And he's the kind of guy that can pretty much push you over the top. If deGrom is healthy and deGrom gives you 175 innings next year, the Rangers are going to be relevant, man. Like, again, I know they have holes, but if you have the best pitcher in baseball pitching and the rest of the moves that they've made, this team can hang around and be a problem. And that's pretty much all you can ask for, given how much they've been able to circumvent this rebuild and expedite it. And again, it's not just throwing money left and right. It's not just spending money here. They're making the right moves between the margins as well. And they're building the farm system for sustainable success, like we talked about on the call up. So I'm really excited about what they're doing here. And they're going to be, and you mentioned this via text, like this is going to be one of the teams that I know we're all going to be very excited to watch. I know you're very excited to watch. And honestly, I'm interested to see what this means for the trade market, because this was like the last guy. This was the last guy that could really move the needle for you in the free agent market. Michael Wacha is a good arm, but I don't think he moves the needle the way Eovaldi is capable of moving the needle if he's healthy. How are some of these teams going to react? We were begging the Orioles to sign Eovaldi literally 24 hours ago. That obviously doesn't happen now. Wacha's been tied to them. Doesn't move the needle, helps them, doesn't move the needle. So I'm interested to see how the trade market kind of reacts here, because he was pretty much the last domino that can make a difference for that rotation for any team, really.
Yeah, one last guy before a quick thought on the trade market. You didn't even mention Adolis Garcia, who is still pre-arb at the age of 30. He's entering his final year of pre-arb. And Garcia, you can make fun of the 30-year-old pre-arb guy, but He did have a 750 OPS with 27 pumps and 25 bags. Like Adolis.
And how about the defense? How about the defense?
Good.
He's a great defender. What was the F4? I would assume he had to be high threes, low fours.
Adolis Garcia, after I close out of this ad on Fangraphs, this year had a 3.8 F4, which was better than his breakout year when he had a 3.3 in 21.
I'm telling you. So, I mean, this is a guy that can really play defense. He's got the power, like you said, and I think he's a part of what they're building too. So good days ahead for the Texas Rangers. And that's what you do. That's what it's about, man. When you get the stadium, invest in your team, build sustainable success. The Marlins got the stadium. They invested in their team. It said, psych, never mind, we're trading y'all. And that's not how it should be. So I'm interested to see in the future. Hopefully the Rangers can kind of set that blueprint out for teams that get the stadium, how to go about it, how you can spend money wisely while still building that success from the ground up.